back to the rush hour. It's, of course, mayoral election season, election day just 6 weeks away now. The candidates are very busy on the campaign trail these days, trying to get their message out to voters. Curtis Sliwa was on Staten Island this weekend, taking swings at all three of his opponents in this race.
We would not have a Zoran Mandami if Eric Adams had been a halfway decent mayor. It would have been the Democratic incumbent against Curtis Sliwa, the Republican round two. We know that. He failed us. Then you have Andy Cuomo, no cash bail Cuomo, who created the disaster in this state that allows criminals with impunity to commit crime and walk free. And he's been resurrected as somehow our savior.
Sliwa announced his latest campaign for mayor in February, running as a Republican. He is also running on the Protect Animals party line. Sliwa, who founded the crime protection group, the Guardian Angels, back in the 70s, also ran for mayor in 2021 against Eric Adams. In that election, Sliwa earned 28% of the vote. Joining me now to talk more about his candidacy is candidate for mayor Curtis Sliwa. Thank you for coming in on the rush hour to talk about this. And why don't we start with the overall theme of your campaign? What do you see as the most important issue that you hope will inspire voters to come your way?
I'm not the candidate of the billionaires or the gazillionaires who think they're going to pick the next mayor. They're not. The people are. And I'm not the candidate of the professional political class. I am the candidate, populist candidate on the Republican line who represents blue-collar, working-class people. And my concept is improve, don't move. I want people to stay in New York City. And if we don't improve the quality of life and public safety and hire more cops and especially make it safer for women, they're going to continue the flight because of fright.
And also, voters clearly spoke that they wanted to be more affordable. That is what got Zoran Mamdani elected on the Democratic Party line. How do you plan, with what you're talking about, to make New York a more affordable place for those blue-collar workers that you're talking about?
Well, all their concepts have to do in the future. We'll build 500,000, 1 million affordable apartments. We'll probably all be dead by the time that comes about. And never trust developers and realtors to fulfill their promise. There are 100,000 mothballed apartments that exist in New York City. 6,000 in NYCHA. The mayor controls that. How could you have 6,000 empty apartments in NYCHA? 28,000 subsidized rent control. The landlords have to be convinced that if they have a tenant who must go, they can go in tenant-landlord court. And then in the outer boroughs, nobody pays attention to that, none of the other candidates. There are men and women who own homes. They live on the property, and they cannot evict people who have overstayed, and so they're not renting their available apartments.
Well, let's talk about those 28,000 vacant rent-controlled apartments that you want to see put back on the market.
Right.
But those would no longer then be considered affordable. So how does that solve the problem?
It's dealing with the landlords and saying, how can we put them back on the marketplace? Zoran Mandami, he's basically saying, hey, we'll freeze the rent. Well, he can do that because he appoints the 9 directors, but de Blasio did it twice and Cuomo did it once as governor. So that can be done, but that is not going to add to the amount of housing that is available.
But the City of Yes plan, which recently passed, which would rezone large swaths of the city, the idea there being it would add to the housing stock in the city, but you're opposed to that.
Absolute catastrophe. All it's going to do is put money in the hands of developers and realtors who want to come into residential areas. And now all of a sudden, there's no more zoning. You don't have to go to a community board. You don't have to go to the local city council person. In fact, the Adams administration, as a result of getting the initiative and referendum on the back of the ballot, please, ladies and gentlemen, vote no on all the initiatives and referendums. All it'll do is empower Eric Adams, who has gone wild with money from the developers, and create a city of yes on steroids. No, we have to protect the homeowners and the people who are in the outer boroughs. This won't do that.
Let's talk about the casino proposal. The last casino that could have been built in Manhattan was voted down today. Where do you stand on downstate casinos? And now there won't be one in Manhattan. Are you in support of the fact that that was voted down?
The people have spoken. They don't want casinos in Manhattan. There are other locations, obviously, still up for grabs. What I'm saying is, do not put a casino or any building on wetlands or parkland. We don't have enough. So let the communities decide where a casino should go.
But would you like to see a casino downstate in New York City?
I'm not a proponent of casinos. I've seen what casinos have done in other parts of the country. But if it is the will of the people in that locale to have a casino, I support it. Just stay off of the parklands and the wetlands.
I know, as I said, you're running on the Protect Animals line as well as the Republican line. Now the other candidates for mayor are getting behind Ryder's Law, which would ban carriages in Central Park. What is your feeling on that? Do you think that this may, in fact, become law now that it seems that whoever is going to be elected mayor will be behind this?
Well, it took them a long time. They made fun of me for years, I and my wife, in favor of eliminating the barbaric horse carriage industry. Now, all of a sudden, one by one, first it was Eric Adams, then it was Zohran Mamdani, then it was Cuomo, who've come on board. Great. But Adrienne Adams, who's the real mayor of New York City, as we've seen, she controls city council, she has to put it out there for a hearing and an immediate vote. She's the impediment. I just sent her a letter today that demands that. Now, will the other three now follow me as they followed me in announcing that the horse carriage industry is barbaric? Cuomo has friends on council, so does Adams, so does Zohran Mamdani. He has the bulk of the friends. Will they tell Adrienne Adams, put it out there for a vote and let the council have an opportunity to repeal this, because only they can do it?
I want to talk about how you're spending the next 6 weeks as you try to close that gap, because you're polling in the teens. There's one topic that I also want to get your view on. I mean, you have spoken out against the city sanctuary city policies. You've butted heads a little bit verbally with Donald Trump. I'm wondering if you support his ICE raids on immigration courthouses here, deporting those who have come to New York seeking asylum.
I only support the president when they send ICE after the criminal element who are here. Sex traffickers, narco-terrorists, members of cartels, gang members, of which I deal with all the time as guardian angels. But when they position themselves outside of courthouses and the men and women are actually coming because they were told this is what you have to do, you've been paroled into the country by the Biden administration, they're following the law. They should not be immediately picked up. And anybody who is picked up should go through due process. You have to be tried here. If you plea out, you're found guilty, you do your time here, then you can be deported. That's where I part company with the Trump administration on the ICE policy.
You don't see that as a double punishment? You have served your time and then you get deported?
No, because everybody is due process. Whether you're an illegal alien, migrant, whatever you want to refer to them as, everybody has due process once they're here in the United States.
Trump recently referred to you as not exactly prime time. If you were to be elected mayor, you would have to work with the federal government. How would you see that relationship going? Well,
you keep it going by having conversations. Feds control a lot of the money. They've already taken money away from the SNAP program, the food stamp program. They've taken away from Medicaid. They are planning to take away from NYCHA. So important to have a working relationship with the president and his staff. Secondarily, Tom DiNapoli and the state has said they've got to close a $34 billion gap in the state budget, which is going to mean less money for the city. We're going to be on the cusp of another fiscal crisis like we were in the late 70s, because Adams is playing Santa Claus, giving money away, trying to get reelected. Zohran wants to give everything away for free. And obviously, Andrew Cuomo can't figure out from one day to the next what he intends on being. I'm the only one who says you got to slash the budget and you got to slash the taxes to keep people here.
Still, Andrew Cuomo is running far ahead of you in the polls. And I know his campaign would really like to have both you and Eric Adams drop out of the race in the hopes that they could consolidate some of your voters and actually run a viable campaign against Mamdani. Would you consider that?
Absolutely. Now, by the way, you're talking polls. He was 40 points up, 2 months ahead of getting clobbered by Zohran Mamdani by 13 points. I'm going to believe the polls. It said that Trump and Harris would be neck and neck. He won the popular vote in the 7 battleground states. Oofa to the polls. I trust the people. I'm out there. I have 7 headquarters that I've opened up in all the boroughs. I don't see the other candidates opening up headquarters. And I've raised more money than the combination of Eric Adams and Cuomo in the last 2 cycles. I now have another TV commercial on, Improve, Don't Move. Why should I drop out? I'm the only Republican candidate who's offering an alternative. The Democrats have destroyed the state, and now they want to destroy the city.
Why do you think there is such a fervent push to keep Mamdani from winning this election?
You know, obviously he poses a threat to the city. He is.
Well, the voters really resoundingly elected him to be their candidate because he spoke to something that people clearly wanted to hear.
Well, I don't really think they know Zoran Mandami. I describe him as Bill de Blasio on steroids, and people on the right and the left collectively hated Bill de Blasio. That's why with 43 days left to this campaign, I'm going into every Zoran district, starting with Astoria, Long Island City, Greenpoint, Brooklyn Heights, Park Slope. You don't see the other two Democratic candidates doing that. Why? They're afraid to go into those areas. That's where the votes are. That's where I'm going to get the millennials and Gen Z who are already part of my campaign.
You say he's de Blasio on steroids, but what is it to you, to those running opposed to him, that's so scary about a candidate like Mamdani, actually?
The naivete. To say that he's going to house homeless people in the subways. Now, who's the expert on subways? I've been down there over close to 50 years of my life every day. I'm the only candidate who's in the subways on a regular basis. You really think it's humane to house people in empty storefronts in the subways? Why doesn't Zoran take a backpack and, and sleep in one of these empty storefronts and see the rats, the mice, the cockroaches, the decay of the subway system and understand this is not humane? You know what's humane? We put the homeless in shelters that are safe and secure first. We get those who are mentally impaired, the emotionally disturbed, into mental health hospitals, and we clean up the subway system.
You've been in the public eye for decades, really starting when you founded the Guardian Angels more than 40 years ago. This is not your first campaign for mayor. It's a very different campaign, though, than you ran in 2021 against de Blasio. What do you see, or I should say against Eric Adams, what do you see is different in your campaign, in your message this year than it was 4 years ago?
Well, the last time I was running against Eric Adams, who was going to be the new face of the Democratic Party, remember? What happened to that? He's corrupt, and I proved that there would be chaos, right? Didn't I say that in the first debate? But people didn't want to listen to me now. Now I'm running against three Democrats. Zoran, who is Bill de Blasio on steroids, and then Zoran Light. That's Cuomo and Eric Adams. All three are Democrats. They share more in common than they have in opposition to one another. I'm the only one saying you got to hire more cops, you got to give them their insurance back, you've got to enforce quality of life issues. None of them are saying that. And by the way, Zoran says give free fare on the buses. I have to laugh. Half the people don't pay the fare to begin with because there's no enforcement. Cuomo, when he was governor, didn't have any enforcement, and Eric Adams hasn't imposed any enforcement. I would. Everybody pays the fare. Working class people pay the fare. Everybody pays the fare.
Curtis Sliwa, candidate for mayor, we appreciate your coming on and discussing your campaign with us.
Oh, anytime. I'm always here at the ready in New York One. And remember, I'm the one who takes the subway. None of the others do because they're afraid of the subway.
Well, one thing that you are is the candidate who agreed to come on the Rush Hour, and we appreciate that. I do want to point out that we have invited all of the other candidates. None of us has taken us up on our offer as of yet. The Cuomo campaign did decline to come on the show.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.